Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to a pair of my replays. This is the FV201 brackets A45 and this has just become available from today, at least on the EU server. It's already been available on other servers. And I think on EU they have held on to it for a little bit longer to release it to coincide with Gamescom, which is currently running. Now the reason I have obviously picked these out, well, these are the very first battles I played, the first and second battle. And this was actually gifted to me by Island Man, formerly of Cirque 4, but he's escaped to new pastures and, you know, being under Billy, can you blame him? But it was a gratefully received gift anyway. If you actually watch the Tankfest video, you'll know that we actually bumped into him there. And he messaged me today to say, I've sent you a gift, and I looked and lo and behold, there it was. So, what is it? Well, it looks not unlike a Carnarvon, although it's a little bit different. It has got the same Centurion turret, which is, at tier 7, a pretty nice turret to have. It's not maybe as good, quite as effective as the Black Prince turret, but it's also got more speed, it's got a much better DPM. In fact, it's got the same DPM as the AT-15A. It's actually identical, which is interesting. They just copy-pasted those stats, I think. But it has full matchmaking, unlike the AT-15A. The speed, as you can see, is actually a lot better. It tops out at just over 30 kilometers an hour, which is, well, it's more than the Black Prince can do, I'll put it that way. And I actually find myself wishing that this was the regular tier 7 rather than the Black Prince, because the Black Prince is, the armor's only effective when it's top tier, and this has actually got reasonably effective armor also when it's top tier, although the hull is definitely weaker. In fact, the major differences are the Black Prince has inferior DPM, but better hull armor, better accuracy, much better accuracy with the gun, and better accuracy on the move, unsurprisingly. Yeah, I get a bit distracted here by that 88, because we are perilously close to being capped in this one. But fortunately I remember. So, although when it's top tier, it is fairly decent, or can be decent, and in fact probably better than the Black Prince, because you've got that extra speed to work with, I have a feeling that when it's not top tier, it's going to be a bit more of a mixed bag. And given the fact that they're asking €30 for it, and that's nearly enough to buy a tier 8 premium, well, honestly for that price, I would not recommend this as a tank. If you're a collector, maybe. If you're absolutely gagging for a British heavy tank crew trainer, then okay, sure, it beats an Excelsior or a TOG. But otherwise, it's not really worth what they're asking for it. And as you can see with that Churchill one, that was the front of a Churchill one, tier 5 heavy tank. I count 5 bounces on the front of that guy with a 17-pounder gun. But we'll get to the 17-pounder later. Let's concentrate a little more on the replay. So I've linked up with the T28 HTC, who had a fairly good game, and I derp out a bit at this moment. I poke out, and that actually lets the Tiger, as I'm pulling back, actually, shoot me. And I think he catches my turret because he knocked out the gunner there. But at this point, as you can see, he doesn't quite maybe know where to shoot. And he's shooting, I think, more or less into the gun mantlet. So you can really see the rate of fire here. With a gun rammer and 100% crew, this is under 4 seconds. You can pump out those shots. And when you've got a turret to work with, when you've got a decent amount of mobility to work with, well, the only thing that the AT-15A in comparison has with the same rate of fire is limited matchmaking. That's pretty much the only fly in the ointment in comparison. But otherwise, the rate of fire is absolutely lovely. And it makes you wonder why the Black Prince doesn't fire this fast. So we're just mopping up now. I wasn't playing at my best today. This was definitely, I mean, it's a ×5 event to go with Gamescom. And yes, it froze a little bit at the end there, but I stopped the recording just a tad too early. So I wanted to show you us getting the final kill. But they've timed it to coincide with Gamescom, and any event where it's like this, well, the teams tend to be a bit more mixed than normal. So as you can see, I did alright, HTC did alright, on the enemy team the E25 did pretty well, but the rest of the team was a bit lackluster, especially the bottom, well, 2/3 almost. But despite the fact that nearly 85% hit rate, 32 shots fired, 27 hits, but only 19 pens. And that's the Black Prince's gun and the Challenger's gun and the AT-15A's gun all over. The 17-pounder at tier 7. Yeah, at lower tiers, at sort of tiers 5 and 6, it's a really good gun. At tier 6, it starts to get a bit less effective, but by the time you get to tier 7, it's not so good at all. But anyway, here's game number 2, and it was another ace tanker, so I will do even better than I did last time. And obviously, this is a new tank. I think the competition, as I'm playing this today, is probably a bit less fierce than it would be in, say, a week's time. But even so, this was unquestionably the better match of the two. And the first one was okay, you know, 2500 damage. I did alright, although I got a lot of annoying bounces, and that's maybe one case where you'd want more the accuracy of the Black Prince, but just all the other characteristics of the Black Prince combined. Well, yes. But this game is unquestionably going to be a better one, with tougher enemies. Although not this VK, who rather foolishly decided it would be a good life choice to drive up in front of all of these tanks. Now, I will say that all these thoughts and whatever that I'm putting out here are entirely preliminary, based on just a few battles. I do think, just based on those few battles, it's not worth the €30 price tag that they're asking, as I've said. But that is even just based on the good battles that I've had, because my knowledge, particularly of this gun on other machines, I know all too well what it is to play in a tier 9 game with this gun. So, although these are very good results, I would still sound that note of caution. So this is an encounter battle this time. In fact, it was an encounter battle last time as well. And this KV3, well, the KV3 is pretty good, but yeah, he actually doesn't have his 122mm, which is good for me. He's still got the 100mm. And that means that, although I got penned in the turret, and you'll see just where in a second, and it's the same with the Centurion, the turret face itself is very tough. The turret mantlet, the gun mantlet, is very tough indeed, but that strip of armour that slopes back to the turret roof just above it is a considerably weaker area. Another stroke of luck here is that SU-152 has not got his derp gun, he's got the 122mm, so chances are good, and I'm pretty sure I'm spotted here, chances are good if he fires, he's going to miss, because that gun is not a particularly accurate gun. And there we go. There's also an SU-100 up there. There is an Nashorn up there, and there's also an E25 on the enemy team that has not been seen at all, so it's probably a decent guess that he's up there. Now this replay was also, this game was also not without its moments of derp, as you will see. I'm trying to shoot the rock when I thought I could get a shot at the SU-100. Well, that was not my finest moment, but I'm about to get the kill, so there we go, that's one less tank. I'm reluctant to press forward because I know that the Nashorn and the E25 are likely there, and that T29 was actually doing a very good job of staying hull down as well. And he was actually staying far back enough that in order to get shots at him, I would have to expose myself a great deal. And there's still enough enemy tanks left alive. It's 7-6. We are fairly even right now, that taking a lot of unnecessary damage at this stage would be a bad plan. I failed to kill the T25 too, unfortunately, but another opportunity presents itself because I get a lovely shot into the KV3's turret. And this is where the extra rate of fire on this becomes in particularly useful in this kind of situation where you can sit and play peekaboo with somebody with cover. Because one of the... oh, and there we go, T29 gets a shot into my hull. One of my problems, along with the fact that the 17-pounder means that all the heavy tanks, you know, this and the Black Prince that have it at tier 7, they have the lowest joint pen of any tier 7 heavy. The I think the Challenger's probably got the lowest, or around the lowest pen of. Now that must be joint with the T25-2 actually. I think that's got 170 pen as well. But it's not got a particularly high amount of pen, and it also doesn't have a particularly high amount of damage. And some machines make up for that, you know, the AT-15A and the Black Prince make up for that by having a very, very good accuracy and gun handling. But that, to my mind, isn't enough to make up for the lack of either of the two more important attributes. So I wasn't particularly paying attention there. I could have maybe taken advantage of the T-29 being distracted and shooting the box tank to get in a couple more shots, but I've got a bit of backup at this point. Now, I am at this stage going to point out the VK3001P and the Panther M10 on our team, who I got a little bit annoyed with them as I was playing this. The Panther M10 and the VK, well, more the Panther because he is full health and he's top tier. But they take a very, very long time to push up the flank. And in fact, it's only the E25 then dropping down from that position that made me considerably less worried. But even so, I really needed one of those guys to pop up and give me flanking fire on this T-29, which this is, for a medium tank, that's absolutely perfect. That is what you want. You want flanking shots, you want side armor shots on heavy tanks all day long. And I was just getting increasingly frustrated with these guys because they just were not moving. And I don't know, I took maybe an unnecessary hit from the T-29 there, but the fact that they weren't, this T-29 needed to die, and the Tiger actually makes a bit of a hero move. He pulls out, knows he might die, but the T-29 was distracted at that moment, so managed to kill the guy, which is all well and good. But the Panther M10 could have made that fight so much easier, and instead I'm sitting here as a one-shot kill for even the M6 potentially if he rolls high. So I'm going to use this wreck for cover, just utterly abuse this rate of fire and stay hull down as much as possible. So it's just the E25 and the enemy team left now. So this is, yes, a considerably better damage result, and you got to see the DPM really in action this time round. And teammates notwithstanding, I felt like this, okay, it had its derpy moments, but maybe a bit less derpy than the previous one, the previous replay. And just generally speaking, I felt like I played a bit better. But again, bear in mind, this is very, very favourable matchmaking. There is no artillery, and these were both maps where I had the opportunity, at least part of the time, to use my turret armour. And I wasn't having to sit in the open and rely on my hull. So there we go, E25, who is about to pepper me with a shot, but there we go, I got the kill. So as you can see, another ace mastery, and definitely a better result. A high caliber and a Confederate medal, which is always a nice combination. I was actually starting to run low on my AP ammo there, and that's because I fired an awful lot of shells that most of them actually struck home. 76% hit rate, although again, not that many actually penned out of that, but it was a better pen to hit ratio than last time. 3,900 damage, 3 kills, 1,442 base XP, more than double the next best score. I'm actually surprised that the VK3001P, based on its damage, and the SU100 didn't get better scores. And the fact that the Panther M10, who was so thoroughly lackluster and possibly could have thrown the game had things gone otherwise by his inaction, was actually second place. So there you go. And the enemy T-29 did play very well. He had over 3,000 damage himself just. So kudos to that guy. That was he was a very tough opponent, and he was playing pretty smart there. So as a tank, well, I think I've said it all really. Not worth the price. Not terrible, but for what they're asking, no, it's not that special. You could easily get a tier 8 premium if you're looking to invest in a premium, so do that instead. So, bearing in mind that all this, as I've stated, is very preliminary thoughts, you can leave any of your own thoughts below. You can hit the like button, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.